Hello, today I am Dan Rochon, joined with Krisstina Wise. And Krisstina and I are going to be talking about how you could be a real estate mogul, just like Krisstina, who is a millionaire coach, a best-selling author, and has created several multi-million dollar businesses. And so today she teaches high-income entrepreneurs how to convert business income from into high personal wealth. So welcome, Krisstina. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for the invitation to be here.
It is my pleasure. So, Falling for Money. So that's your book, correct?
Falling for Money is my book, and the idea behind the book was exactly that, was to through the book is to invite people to fall in love with their money and the journey of money and the life of money, as opposed to being afraid of it, abdicating it, avoiding it, ignoring it, all these other things. And so if we can have a really healthy love relationship with our money, that sometimes people cringe when they hear love and money in the same sentence. But there can be unhealthy love and there can be healthy love. In romantic relationships, there can be unhealthy love and healthy love. So we have a healthy love relationship with our money, meaning we're grateful for what we do have, as opposed to always looking at what we don't have. When we spend time with it, when we understand it, when we move with it, when we understand that it really underwrites the cost of living a good life, and what is a good life, and how much does a good life cost, and what are my dreams, and how does my relationship and my flow and my behavior with my money, how does it either sabotage, my financial goals and dreams and lifestyle dreams, or how am I in alignment with it? So that was the goal with the book, was to invite people to start discovering what a healthy relationship with money looks like, what it feels like, one, like feeling, then two, what it looks like when it's just, numbers, like when the numbers tell the truth.
So, Krisstina, so tell us a little bit about your journey. So, I assume that you have a healthy relationship with money or a love relationship with money. Is that a good assumption?
Well, today I do, but definitely that's not always been the case. And so, the way I teach money now is I teach people what I've done, which is the things I've done really well, and the things the catastrophic mistakes I've made at the same time, just through my own naivete and ignorance and fear, and lack of maybe self-worth and different things that I had at the time. But yeah, and I can just say is that when you have this healthy relationship with money, and you're in a dance with it, and you work with it, but you're not attached to it, you're not chasing it all the time, it's just a normal part of a healthy lifestyle. It just changes everything. Then you're just not worried about the money, and that's the biggest thing. Like, if we can live life without worrying about the money all the time, life is different, because that stress is gone. And what I've learned, and what I believe to be true, the only way to get rid of that nagging fear or anxiety or conflict, or just being unsettled about this money thing, is we really need to learn it. We need to understand it. And again, we have to get in relationship to it.
When do you recall that you transform your relationship and learn from the catastrophic incidents to having a better relationship with money?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've had a few, what I call just kind of those pivot moments that came out of where I just coming out of these situations of what I call just existential despair, of just, hardcore hit bottom, like WTF, how did I wind up here type places. And, I've had more than I like to publicly admit. But, the first was just, I started without anything. I mean, a lot of people do. So when, from that kind of overused rags to riches story, I really am the rags to riches story. And so starting off in the rags, I had a lot of money issues growing up because we didn't have any. And there was a lot of shame attached not to have any. There was a lot of like being made fun of, being on the other side of the tracks, so I had my parents, they fought all the time about money. So money was a very scary thing from my upbringing, and scary because the conflict from just within, the four walls, but then also on the outside of the four walls, how I didn't fit in because, we were from that side of the tracks. But what that did, I'd say, in the good side, is that it set me on a desire to want to make money from a young age. And so I've always made money. Making money is easy for me, always has been. But I've had a love of it, not even a love of it. I had to have it. I mean, that was the unhealthy side of that, was because I wanted to fit in. And so money became this external thing that I felt good about myself only if I had money, because I didn't feel good about myself when we didn't have money. So, but that started that. But then from right out of college, after putting myself through college, I got into this thing called real estate. And the great thing about real estate, I was in my late 20s, and all of a sudden I just jump in, and because I was a hard worker, and because I love making money, and because I actually just kind of jetted straight to the top of my industry and in my town. So the great thing about that is I was making more money than I even thought was possible. I just, from where I grew up with, this was silly money. But it appeared to be working, because I was making all this money, and then what I bought the lifestyle that money can afford, and just got in more debt, and bought bigger houses, and bought more boats, and bought vacations, and bought the labels, and you name it, because now I got to show people I had money. It's almost like I had this chip on my shoulder from a kid. It's like, hey, if you could only see me now type thing. And it all appeared to be working until one day it didn't work anymore. And I found myself in this life situation where now I'm a single mom, after all of a sudden I'm divorced. The divorce took over my life, because what we fought 2 years over all the stupid stuff that now just seems silly that I even cared about it then. And I was 100% commission job, and I'd been focusing on my divorce and trying to do all that nonsense, that after it was final, I realized I was broke, and I didn't have any commissions coming in. And now I'm a single mom. How are you supposed to be a single mom and be a full-time real estate agent? And but the only thing is, here I was, I moved from the big house in the suburbs and that lifestyle, that now we live on the one side of a dinky, crappy duplex, again, in the wrong side of town. I couldn't pay the light bills. I didn't have any money. I had all this debt, from tax liens to credit card debt and stuff that I'd taken on because I was a primary wage earner. And I just didn't even know how I was going to get myself out of it. And the only thing that got my kids and I, that kept us like in a home with a roof over our head, is that people at work had pitched in. They brought in furniture and towels and paid the utility bills for 6 months and filled the fridge and did these amazing, things that I don't know what we would have done if it wasn't for the help from peers at work. And I didn't ask for it. They just kind of, they figured out what was going on, even though I thought I was pretty private about it. But the point is that, one, it was so amazing. I mean, what a gift that, I had this help. At the same time, here I am now feeling so ashamed again, like I did as a kid, that I couldn't feed my children and I had to take charity to be able to get by. So that just really became a pivotal moment, because I was scratching my head wondering, like, how the hell am I in this situation when I made all that freaking money? Like, how is that possible? And so once I got over my pity party, I just made it my personal goal that I had the will, if there was a way, and I was going to learn this money thing, because I could not understand how I made all that money and was in all this debt and couldn't pay my light bill. So that became kind of this first, and that's what I did. That became that moment where I made studying money and wealth creation kind of my personal mission. But it was
How long ago was that, Krisstina?
That was 15 years ago. 15? Yeah. No, maybe more than that, like closer to 18 years ago. Okay. But I'll complete here by saying this, is that the big awareness there, like the big lesson, and something that I teach today that came out of that moment, is we're so hell-bent on building our businesses and making all this money without understanding that making money is only one small piece of the puzzle. If we're over leveraging or overspending our lifestyle, despite how much, I made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, and I was dead broke. So that was the thing, is it doesn't matter how much money we make. It really matters what we do with our money after we make it. And that when we're oblivious and we start living according to what's Parkinson's law that says expenses will always rise to match income, then we just get in this entrepreneurial trap where we're just always chasing the money in order to pay next month's bills. And that can last forever. So that was it. Like, it's really understanding that just focusing on income isn't going to solve our money problems.
So does your income today still come from real estate, or tell us tell us about your professional life today?
Well, that's great. So during that journey, even when you'd referenced, I've done many multi-million-dollar businesses. And so
Yeah.
I've always been a business person, an entrepreneur. I love business. I teach business. I still have my business. My business is Wealthy Wealthy, and I have the Wealthy Wealthy podcast, and I have Sovereignty Academy, which is my money school. So I've had exits. I've had one really good exit with one business, and I've had some small exits on kind of some other places. So when it comes to the business game, I've been really good. And to answer your question, I'm still a business person. But that's been my public identity my entire life. People, like my notorieties come from my businesses, my business success, my entrepreneurial success, like all that. Privately, though, what nobody saw was I was an investor, because privately I was building my net worth. My businesses were just kind of my income and, my identity, if you will. So to answer your question, my money still comes today from my businesses. I have several different businesses, but more money now actually comes from my assets. And so, when people say real estate mogul or that type of thing, I have a nice net worth, let's put it that way, in real estate. So I've been a real estate investor my entire life. And, over time, it's grown to really fund my lifestyle. At the end of the day, when we're looking at, whatever word we give it, financial freedom, financial independence, I call it financial sovereignty. The goal, what we're looking at when we want to play to win the money game, what we're doing is, we're building businesses, we're generating income. Hopefully we enjoy the work that we do, in order to do that. But where all of our money focus isn't just on growing the business, it's equally on growing our net worth. And so that's the piece, is that, I've been able to, at this stage in my career, my life, is that my assets, from my real estate and other assets, my portfolio fully covers the costs of my lifestyle. So working now is a choice. And so life really changes when every day you're choosing to get up and do what you do. Even as entrepreneurs, we love what we do, but if we have to, sometimes we get caught in that grind. And the only way to achieve or to create our own financial freedom is that we need to be very attentive and have this good relationship with our money and spend time with it so that we understand how it works and we start, building this. And know that while we're in the money game, the working income game, building our businesses or how we earn income, we're also in the asset growth game too. And it starts small when we're beginners, but then when you do this as, just a lifestyle practice, over time, it just, grows and grows and grows. And that is, that's compound interest. That's what we mean by compounding is when you use your youth or your younger years and you start investing, that money compounds and grows to a point where your money outperforms you, at least 2 to 1 from your hardest work that you can put in. And that's what we want to do. We want to build it so our assets start doing the hard work so we don't have to.
When did you realize that your assets were capable to be able to pay your bills? Was there an actual aha where you're like, oh my goodness, like I don't need to work? Did you have that moment?
Well, yeah, I mean it's intentional in the sense that I call that your good life number, your good enough number. And that, when we get in the money game and we play it intentionally just versus accidentally, that's something I teach is you want to know, like, how much does it cost to live your life? Like right now, your desired life, how much does it cost? And now if you're not going into debt every single month or year, what that means is that what you're either from your business or however you get paid, that means the money that you're bringing from your business is enough to support that lifestyle. So let's say, just to keep the math easy, let's say it's $100,000 to live your lifestyle. So that means your business is netting $100,000, which means it must be, revenuing at least probably $500,000. But, just to keep the math easy. So, which would be a 20% profit margin, which would be a nice profit margin. So you're making 500, you're keeping 100, you're putting that into your household account. Now your lifestyle, let's say that's after taxes, that's $100,000. So now if you keep doing that for 20 years and you spend every dollar of that $100,000, 20 years later, You'll still have to go to work every single day, assuming your lifestyle never goes up. And, again, just to keep the math easy. So conceptually, that means at the end of 20 years, when you thought, man, I just thought I wouldn't be having to work this hard still. And I thought life and money would feel a little bit differently. It's just because for 20 years, you made 100 and you spent 100. That was it. You see, you have no other out. Now, what we want to do over that is we don't want to spend all 100. We want to shave. I call it shave to save. We want to shave a portion over that. And over that 20 years, we want to start building our net worth, our asset. And if you know that, okay, $100,000, I could live off $100,000. This is a great lifestyle for me. And you can do any multiple of this to keep your, just again, for the math reasons. Multiply that by 20. So that means in 20 years, if you wanted to have your financial freedom in 20 years, whether I don't like the word retire, I could, but I still want to create and work. And, retirement's not even in my vocabulary. But the idea is that, okay, 20 years, I have a $2 million net worth gap. And what that means is I need $2 million of cash flowing assets, where those assets that's on my balance sheet will create the $100,000 so that I don't have to work anymore. So the one that spent $100,000 every year for 20 years, they're going to have to do that for the next 20. The one that created the $2 million over 20 years by investing and having that, now in 20 years, they can choose whether they want to continue working or not. So John needs to keep going. Sally, she gets to choose. So that's what it is. But it's just some really good, easy calculations. It's just, multiply whatever your good life number is by 20. And then that's the goal. And now we reverse engineer and work back from that. And then how much money do we need to invest over that 20 years or that horizon of time to make sure that we're going to hit those numbers? But what that means is you need to know kind of what your time frame is. You need to know how much money it costs to live your life and, back into these numbers. And so to answer your question is I've been in this journey for a while, knowing that I had my numbers and year over year, I was working towards building that asset value so that when it hit a certain place and throw off enough cash flow, I didn't pinpoint it to the exact day and time, but, the economy's coming, economy's going, different things. But I had the differences is I had no doubt that I was going to hit the number. I didn't know exactly when. And that's why we want to do this work, because that's what takes the financial anxiety out, because we know our numbers. We know we're on the trajectory to hit those. And nothing's a guessing game. Everything is intentional, and it's very simple math. But if we've not put money into if we've not put numbers into a compounding calculator, if we really haven't spent the time to know how much it costs to live a good life today and in the future, if we don't have kind of a time frame in mind where we want to be out of the churn and this have to get up and Groundhog Day type of thing, the only way to do that, unless we're going to get a trust fund or get a nice inheritance, is we're going to have to create this for ourselves.
Do you have a typical day today? Is each day different, or do you have habits that create your days to look the same?
I mean, I certainly have my rituals and my habits, but where, my second kind of pivotal moment was about half a dozen years back. I got really sick. And part of that is that it was a number of things, but I worked all the time. I was in such the chase of the money game and the wealth game. So, I mean, I was good with money and I was good with business, but my whole life was money and business. And it really just wore me out. My body broke. My lifestyle was unsustainable, and just the whole way of living was unsustainable. I mean, my whole life was work and money. And I didn't really know it at the time, but it wasn't until I got sick. And what happened when I got sick is that I spent all my health to build my wealth. And now I had to spend all my wealth to get my health back. And I did. I mean, I had to start over financially, because I wouldn't be here today. Now, the thing is that if I hadn't been a good steward of money and wealth creation, I wouldn't be here today, because it was hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash to save my life and selling assets. And my business started deteriorating because I wasn't in it every day, because I was on my deathbed. And I mean, my whole financial life and business life completely collapsed. And that's part of what WealthyWealthy is to remember that to get out of the chase of the money, just get into money is part of life. But it's to also know that money is for the sake of underwriting the cost of living a wealthy life, like a life that's a life that's balanced, a life that is joyful and has a lot of meaning. And usually when we get out of the external validation game and have to keep up with the Joneses, life can be much more affordable because we don't have to buy all the labels, right? And all the emblems and things that tend to get us into trouble, cause us to overspend. But the point is that, coming out of that, I just realized that, oh my gosh, that my body's my number one asset. And so I'd say a good portion of the money today that I spend is on me. And to get out of the rat race, to get out of that game, to get out of like feeling every day was this race to try to get more and be more and have more and do more and more and more and more. Just get out of the more game. So again, to answer your question, that's what my life looked like then, before I kind of had this, like I said, that second part, that second introduction to existential despair in that case, and coming out of that kind of dark period. But it's to understand now what my day looks like. My life is all about freedom, that I thought even as a business owner, when I had 50 employees and I had all this, crazy business, huge public identity, uber successful, and was known for all that I didn't really have any freedom or life because I could never turn it off, even if I wanted to. So now my life is designed very differently. That, I start my workday around 10, I end it usually around 3, I take half a day off Fridays, I travel a lot. And again, granted, I get a lot done, and create and do business within these short periods of time. But now my whole life is around design of a life that works for me, not just chasing the dollar and the, what I call the continuous pursuit of more.
If you were to go back in time and say you were talking to the young lady, Krisstina, that your young lady today, let's say the young lady last year when you were 20, and going back that far, what would you say to her, in regards to advice for the future?
Yeah, I see this a lot. I think even with my work that I do today and seeing, I work with entrepreneurs and, younger entrepreneurs usually, not always. But what I see in them is what I found in myself. It's just this constant need to drive or churn and just do everything today and as fast as you can and just push and push and push, and thinking when I get there, I'll slow down, or when I get there, I'll do things differently. Like there's some there out there. So what I would have said to myself, which I find saying to, a lot of my, students and clients today, is just slow down. There's no freaking race. You're not going to get anywhere faster. And, depending on what age you are, but we all have time. If you can just have time, give space, slow it down, enjoy life more, you're going to be successful. Once you know your numbers, you're going to work towards that. It's just the lack of knowing that keeps you kind of in that trap. So that would be my biggest advice, would just been like, Krisstina, just slow down, like, just give yourself some space and, really understand what's most important and meaningful to you. And then, enjoy growing the business. I can't say I enjoyed it. It's just something I was just so bound and determined to do, is to hit these big numbers in my business. But I can't say that, it's like I am today. Like today I'm living my life's work. Like this is the best thing ever, radically different than before. Is all just about more success.
What would you say, Krisstina? What do you say really makes you tick?
What makes me tick is feeling love, as silly as that may sound. It's just like every day being able to connect, through meditation, just through relationships, just this. And again, I compare like my current self with my old self that I'm referring to. I never had space to love. I loved my kids. I loved my husband at the time. I loved but I was so fast paced all the time that it's not like I just would be fully present and just like, oh my God, this feels amazing. Or taking a bite of food and just like, taste that food. It's extraordinary. I just like chuck down food as fast as I can because I have the next meeting to get to. Like there's no slowing down enough to just be present and enjoy the juice of life. So today, what makes me tick is just having these moments and pinching myself like, holy cow, like this is life, So that's one thing, and just being healthy, and so grateful for my health since I almost lost it, and spending time there. So relationships and health. But the third piece, I love my work, and I'm just very lucky that, every day I get to do things like this and hopefully just give one little nugget that can inspire somebody or or maybe, get them excited to get to understand and learn about money and how it's connected to living well. So, I'm pretty easily, I wouldn't say entertained, but just pretty easily satisfied, and that's another thing. It's important, I think, life principle is that we're so dissatisfied all the time, and just things not being good enough. We're not good enough. The money's not good enough. What we have is not good enough, just not good enough. And so that's why I really organize things towards good enough, like, just being satisfied, spend more time just in satisfaction versus, focusing on what we do have and how life really is good, as opposed to focused on what we don't have, and what could be better.
What big challenge are you facing today?
Ooh, what big challenge am I facing today? I'd say, business-wise, with my newest business, I'd say my only real challenge is, which is what I love about business is always the next set of challenges. So for me, the challenge I'm taking on business-wise is this next level of growth for my business, and so I'm making, creating those strategies and making those decisions. But outside of that, life's just really good.
So life's really good. And so your biggest challenges in business, what was that big challenge in business that you're facing?
I would say just hitting the next level of growth that I want to hit in my business right now. So that's, I'd say, when I say challenge, that's the challenge that I'm taking on right now. And not challenge in a bad way, but challenge in a good way. Like, I'm being challenged. And I have something, in fact, I send out this monthly newsletter, and in it, I'm like, hey, this is what I'm up to, and these are things I'm learning, or these are people, to point you to. But I always create something that's called the unchallenging challenge. And so the unchallenging challenge means these little, like, personal growth, or these little growth things that I challenge myself on, because I always like to be challenged to keep myself out of the status quo, from getting out of, feeling comfortable. So where can I, these little things. And so, I just have silly unchallenging challenges. Like, one unchallenging challenge was, I realized, like, I just wasn't drinking enough water, so, creating this, it's not a huge challenge just to drink more water. So I set it, and there are these 30-day little challenges. One month was to do 10 push-ups a day. I could do 10 push-ups a day, just to always challenge and get out of the rope, because we're so programmed and conditioned, and we just get in, where we're sleepwalking. Day in and day out. And again, I just see that so many of us, like my previous self, we're just missing our life, waiting for someday when things are supposed to be somehow different, that we can enjoy life then. So yeah, these little challenges, it's just the way to just, again, stay present, to keep myself out of just, walking around to sleep.
So staying present and staying in the moment is what I hear you saying, Krisstina, so that it's not about what it's, yes, plan for tomorrow, yet be in today.
Yeah, and that's the balance. Like, that's the tightrope that we're walking, really, when it comes to the money piece of life, but life in general. But when I'm investing in my health today, which I'm very serious about, again, since I was almost lost mine, like, I invest a lot in my health, like my mental health, my emotional health, my physical health is my chief, it's my biggest financial investment, really. But I'm doing that. Why? Because I want to feel really good today as we're having this conversation. I have the energy. If I go out with friends, we can laugh and have fun. So I'm investing in my health today to enjoy my life today. And I'm investing in my health today so that 10 years, 20 years from now, hopefully I'll be very healthy at whatever age that I am. So I'm also investing in my future self-health by taking care of my health today. So money's the same way. It's this balancing act of, we do it for life today, because if we're just hoarding or putting it off and that type of thing, we're missing life in the presence. Like, I missed my life before. That was when I was on my deathbed. My number one, I was just so filled with remorse and regret. I don't know if anybody's felt like deep, deep remorse and regret, but it's a horrible feeling. I mean, it compares, like when I lost my dad, the grief was so overwhelming. Like, if I didn't know what grief was till I lost my father. And now I can relate and empathize with others that experience grief. Like, oh my God, like, it's right. It's just it's such a feel bad, and remorse and regret, the level that I had, it was very similar to that just type of pain. and just like, oh my God, I'm dying. I haven't even lived yet. I just missed my life in the chase waiting for tomorrow. And so, I vowed if I got a second chance, I wasn't going to do that anymore. But that's the point, is that, we want to make sure when it comes to money, live today. We don't know if we're going to have tomorrow. But also, if we do live tomorrow, we need to take care of our future self financially as well. And our future self's not going to want to work this hard. Our future self is going to want more space and time. Our future self is going to want these things. We don't know it when we're 20 years younger, but your 20-year older self is going to want more time and not to work so hard. So that's that balancing act when it comes to our money. That's why we're taking care of our future self and we're taking care of our present self.
Krisstina, you are just so wonderful. Thank you so much. How can somebody get in touch with you and learn more?
Oh, well, thank you. The best way, I have so many yummy downloads and I love sharing this stuff. And I've got a free copy of my book. I have some just fun exercises to test your relationship with money, and just go to fallingformoney.com. So that's a great place just to, get some freebies and be introduced to me and my work a little bit if there's anything I said that was interesting. And then I have the Wealthy Wealthy podcast. And so a lot of people find me there, and just Google my name. I'm pretty easy to find. But anyway, I just love sharing and helping and whatever I can do to support where anybody is in their money journey. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you again, Krisstina. God bless you, and appreciate your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.